everyone, welcome to another episode of Rascal's Chick Chat for musculardevelopment.com. My next female guest is the amazing IFBB pro figure Emma Hyndman.
Hyndman, you got it right.
Yeah. Every time I say it now, I'm like, is it Hyndman? Is it Hyndman? So
You've totally confused yourself now.
I know, I don't know when I'm wrong or when I'm right. So thank you so much, Emma, for chatting to us today. Super excited to introduce you to everyone. We've had Emma on Muscle News Weekly once, so maybe some people have already started following you. But yeah, I've known Emma, how long have I known you? Since like 2010 or something?
Yeah, about 8 years, I reckon.
Trace back. So to start off with, why don't you give us like a little bit of a rundown, like where you're from, what your kind of life has been like, what's led you to bodybuilding, and I'm just going to jump in when I hear something interesting.
Okay, cool, awesome. So I'll start at the beginning. I am originally from Newcastle in the UK. I lived there until I was 18 and then moved to Leeds to come to professional dance school, so contemporary dance school. And I had a professional dance career up until I was into my late 20s, so 27. Started personal training around about in the back end of my dance career, and was surrounded by some wicked fitness professionals and bodybuilders. Hey! That's where Rosie comes in.
I think I might have been one of them.
No, you were one. And yeah, so I was like massively inspired and just kind of like looked up to them. Would always kind of contemplated maybe I could compete one day. Didn't really know an awful lot about it at all. Decided to stop dancing and do personal training full time, which led me then to decide to compete. I decided
how hard did you find it to stop the dancing? Because actually, like listening to your story, there's so many similarities because I came from the dancing and entertainment background. We also both started training at the same bodybuilding gym in Morley. So we had the same people pushing us and supporting us towards our first show, didn't we? How did you find it? Like, was it hard to step away from dancing?
I think it was a progressive thing for me because I had just reached a point in my career where I wanted to have something more stable, hence why I started to PT a little bit more. Dancing isn't consistent money-wise and lifestyle-wise. You're all over the place. You don't really settle. So it was the personal training that led me to want that kind of stability. So I didn't necessarily feel like it wasn't hard to transition, because also I felt like I had a new goal, and it wasn't like I didn't just stop dead dancing. I still did a couple of contracts here and there. I actually still danced probably for the first 18 months of crossing over into competing, but it was more of like a mental shift. So I decided that I was like, right now it's a new chapter. I'm going to concentrate all of my time on fitness and getting into competing. And it felt like, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, it was almost like another outlet on stage because we got to perform.
Yeah, for sure.
So
there's a lot about bodybuilding that demands a creative aspect. So if you are a creative person, you can find that passion and interest within bodybuilding for sure.
And then you can channel it in that direction, you know. So I just love the fact that I was still able to get on stage and kind of like almost explore my new journey a little bit more by just getting on stage. So I love that part of it, and it was the routine side that I also really enjoyed as well, which obviously you can relate to. So that was it wasn't that hard of a transition, and I probably still danced, like I said, for about 18 months, and it then just got to a stage where bodybuilding was more important than dancing. And dancing, if anything, became a little bit more of a social thing. So I'd maybe just go to a class, or I did salsa for a while, which was social, with no major commitment. So I still felt like I was dancing, even though I wasn't continuing as a professional dancer.
I think like one of the things that I realised, because when I gave up, because I was singing actually, not dancing, I was singing full time before I crossed over to bodybuilding. And at first I was a little bit unsure and sad whether I was making the right decision to leave it. But then I realised that actually once you've been a dancer or a singer, you always are. You know,
yes,
just because you don't do it,
yeah,
you don't have to do it as a job. And actually, there's benefits to not doing it as a job, because you can have it as an outlet, as an enjoyment, therapy.
Yeah, and then it kind of switches to being a hobby.
Yeah,
you know, so then it is more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think when you perform as a career, it almost like you don't lose your passion for it, but it can almost like run a little bit dry.
Yeah.
Like, it's all you do, and it's the jobs aren't for enjoyment; they're for paycheck to paycheck. You know,
you go through the motions, especially if you're doing the same sort of work. You just kind of like when I used to do the singing, it was the same act every night, and
exactly.
It was just like robotic.
Yes.
It looked like I was passionate and entertaining and enjoying it, but actually it was just going through the motions.
Because that's the job, you know.
But I think for an entertainer, it's really dangerous to get into that. Mm-hmm. You've got to keep the dancing and everything alive and passionate.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And so the transition wasn't hard. I just really enjoyed the new challenge. And then obviously once I'd done my first show, which was in 2013, the NABBA UK, well, it was just like a completely new world had opened up to me. I loved it. I loved being on stage. I didn't know what to expect, so I was just like a complete sponge on the day, just soaking up as much as possible. And I really, really enjoyed it. And even though I didn't place, I didn't really care, because, you know, when you do something and you go, oh, this is something like I'm into this. And I was just excited about the new prospect of doing something fresh.
What do you think it was? Like, what do you think it was that really drew you to bodybuilding? Like, what excited you so much?
Huge admiration for the people around me. Like, I remember one of the first times I ever saw you, I was just blown over by the aesthetics and the muscle and the shape, and I was just almost like intrigued by it.
Yeah.
And I just had so much respect for it. And my friends, Ricky and Tracy, who you know, I was around them day in, day out, and I just loved the drive. And it's almost like I was hungry for that.
Yeah.
After I'd been on stage, so I kind of thought, and I saw the other girls on stage, and I thought, oh, I want to be like them.
Yeah.
I want to be like those girls. Like, they look amazing.
And actually, in the area where we were all training in Leeds, bodybuilding was quite big, wasn't it? You know, like when I used to go out clubbing and stuff, there was loads of us bodybuilders out in the nightclub.
I never crossed over into that scene. No. It was a little bit before my time, Rosie.
You were safe. You were safe. You got a lucky escape there.
But yeah, and I don't know whether I didn't even know if there was a huge community of bodybuilders, because I was just learning from the people around us, which was immediately like my work peers, Ricky and Tracy. So I just was so in awe of them. And I think as well, like when you're a performer and you do something that's vocational, you always want to be your best.
Yeah.
So I knew after my first competition, I was like run up to my show going, I'm going to win. I'm going to win this show. And then I got about 2 weeks out, maybe a little bit more. And I remember thinking, I don't really know what I'm walking to. Yeah. I'm going to win. And then I did the show, and then I really understood what needed to be done. Yeah. And I just realized, I'm not of a level. I'm not ready to win. I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
And that's motivation for me. That's like, right, okay, now this is a new challenge. Like you were great in the dance community that you worked in. You ended up being one of the strongest dancers, and you've done that now. And this is now a new challenge. So let's try and be our best in this. Yeah,
and you certainly well on your way, because you've absolutely smashed all the amateur as much as you could. And how many weeks ago was it you got your pro card?
Was it 6 weeks ago?
Yes.
No, maybe 8. Something like that. It's like 23rd of June.
Yeah, so not, only like 6 weeks or so ago, you got your pro card. So how are you feeling now? Because you've pretty much reigned the amateur for a couple of years, haven't you? Like the shows that you were doing, you were winning. It was like, if people knew you were entering, they'd probably be shitting themselves. That's kind of what it started getting like.
There as well, like when you rock up to a show and you see someone there and you go, oh, there goes first place. So I've been there. So and obviously like it took me 3 years to even win a show.
Yeah.
So so I had a really good, my last season as Tone Figure was really great, and I took almost a year off competing. I did a lot of guest posing, and didn't really have an off season, so to speak, but kind of knew that I wanted to come back. I wanted to make a comeback, and and then Two Bros came up in the UK, so that was like quite exciting. And I just thought, okay, let's dip our toe in the figure category. I was always a little bit scared of the figure category, to be honest. I think it's very exposing. You really, if you've got any weak areas, it's not like Tone Figure or athletic figure.
The poses, the 3/4 turns, and
no,
and it's like to be like, because some people were saying to me, because I didn't want to compete anymore in the physique category because it's just a bit too. It's too big and too ripped for my genetic potential. I can't kind of push any further. And a few people had said, why don't you do figure? And I was like, what? Like, that's not, it's not easier. Figure's no easier.
If anything, it's harder. Like, because I was thinking, I just didn't know how I would fare, because for me, my all of my overhead poses are my strongest.
Same. So
my quarter turns, my weakest.
Yeah, because don't you think that a lot of women we all look a bit weird in that in that front pose?
I'd say that to a lot of my posing clients, because I think that's why Tone Figure and athletic figure, their quarter turns have progressed in the posing style, because the quarter turns, unless you're carrying a substantial amount of muscle and mass, it doesn't look impressive.
No, it just looks all arms and legs, doesn't it? Sort of thin arms, kind of.
And I just think like, yes, and I just knew that, and I knew for me that those quarters were my weakest, so I didn't really expect to do that well in the figure, but I just kind of thought, you know what, I'll dip my toe in, see I need to see how I look in a figure lineup, how I fare against the other girls. So I really didn't anticipate getting my pro card. I kind of was thinking, let me see where I stand, see what work I've got to do, and then go for it next season. So I've kind of been catapulted a little bit ahead of plan.
Yeah, and will you be doing any work with, because you work with Rob Latte, and you've been working with him for a long time. He does like mind coaching, life coaching, business coaching. He does all sorts. He works with people that have got problems in relationships, with sports performance, but he can work with anything to do with the mind.
Yes, exactly.
And so you've been working with him for a long time. I started working with him, I think, about a year ago, maybe. But do you think that working with him started the snowball of your success, of a lot of your success?
I think, it's absolutely, 100%. I've always had a very driven mindset. If anything, I've always known, or what I thought I was potential of doing.
Yeah.
But with Rob, it just, you know, when you have those little niggles where you maybe question yourself or you have a moment, he's just really great for me at just bringing me right back from that.
Yeah.
And just keeping my positivity in my mind thought in the right place. Like when I first started competing, I knew eventually I would win. And that's just me. Like I knew I would work hard enough and put the time in, and it would take me probably a little while, but I knew I would win eventually.
Yeah.
And I always said, one day I will be a pro. One day I will stand on the Olympia stage. So I do think I've got quite a good mindset already.
Where do you think that comes from? Was that grown through the years of dance and just proving to yourself you had it?
Yeah,
or was it something
like as dancing, you've got to come through the adversity of the knockbacks.
Yeah.
And you've got to have self-belief.
I think as well, when you do dancing, you put in a group full of other very competitive girls, and you have to be vulnerable. You have to dance, and you have to make mistakes and have the moments where you look so bad compared to everyone else. And I guess over time you just you don't fear being vulnerable.
Yeah, and I'm just not afraid to. And I think as well, because of my background, I'm not afraid of hard work.
Yeah.
I used to work hard when I danced.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that's always just been part of my daily life. Like, in order to be the best dancer, you have to work the hardest.
Yeah.
So,
because if you're doing like professional dancing, you're not talking about like 2 hours of training a day. You're talking like hours of, you could be in the studio for like 8 hours, couldn't you?
Yeah. And even just like going through professional training, that's intense in itself. You do three years, and you're in the studio daily from 8:30 in the morning till 4 p.m. Like you just learn to just to get on with it, really.
And I guess you learn to take in that process, you would have learned a lot of how to take criticism as well, constructively, and not being like defensive,
defensive, yeah. And I actually really love constructive criticism, because sometimes, especially in this business, I almost feel like I want someone just to be real with me. Like, look at me and tell me what my weaknesses are. Don't look at me and say, oh yeah, you look great. Tell me what I need to work on, because then I will go away and do the work. So yeah, I just quite thrive on the challenge and the mindset. I think it was there, but I didn't understand it. So working with Rob has just really helped me to open up my mind and understand, oh, that's actually a really good way to think.
Yeah, and actually once you understand it, you know how to manipulate it to your advantage. Yeah, exactly. So not only are you able to snap yourself out of the negative frame of mind, you're able to like strengthen and enhance the positive and the strong sort of mind skills that you've already got. When you took your year off, was this anything to do with hitting some harder times? Because I know that you had like a couple of years that were just like really challenging. I know that you lost, was it your stepdad?
Yeah, but it was like lost my stepdad. Well, actually happened in my probably my second to last season of competing in 2000.
Prep, wasn't it? Yeah.
So I was in prep for the Universe. I don't even think I hadn't even won a show at that stage. No, so it was maybe my second Universe. And 4 weeks out, my stepdad, who had literally raised me, like I have no contact with my real dad, so he was literally like my dad. I always feel like stepdad's almost like a little bit of an injustice to him. So I'm like, so 4 weeks out from my show, he passed away unexpectedly, which was obviously super difficult. Total shock to the system. Wasn't expecting it, and it was just a case of, in that moment, what do I do? Do I use this as something to drive me and more adversity? And I believe that adversity makes you stronger. And do I just step on that stage, do the best I absolutely can and do it for him? Because I knew he wouldn't have wanted me to quit. So I think I maybe had like a few days after he passed where I thought, what am I going to do? And some of my family members said to me, like, are you still going to go on with your show? Like, maybe you should just forget it. And I just thought, like, no, he wouldn't want me to. And I was able just to use that situation to actually drive me even more. And I actually came out stronger the other side, you know? Yeah. And I then, once I got through that prep, after losing my dad and getting through that prep, I literally just thought, you know what? Throw anything at me. Yeah. Throw it at me and I can handle it. Because if you can handle that and still step on stage, I can get through any prep, no matter what. Yeah. So, and then the following season, won my first show. And after that, I've always almost felt like every prep has been easier. Yeah. Because I've never been in that dark place, you know, with all that going on.
Because like the last 4 weeks are the hardest, aren't they? Like with tiredness, fatigue, the mental games. So to throw that into the mix.
And I just really used training as a focus for me, you know. And I just used it. Like my mum would go to church, I would go and get on the Stairmaster. And I literally, and it was almost like that was my time just to release. And I remember being on the Stairmaster and sweating buckets, obviously, and crying, but thinking, no one knows I'm crying. So I can just, you know, like this is my time and my kind of my way of healing. And so ever since then, it's just like no prep has ever felt as difficult as that. And I really do believe that it has shown me my strengths.
Yeah. Did you find that you did manage to grieve properly, or was there a period once the prep was over that you kind of collapsed a little bit?
Yeah, probably like afterwards, after I'd finished my show, because then you've got nothing to focus on.
Yeah.
And so that was probably afterwards it hit me, and that was difficult, but I still think my prep brought me through the hardest part.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing.
I know, like it's just, it's amazing, like the situations that can make you stronger, you know, and it's a choice then. It's like, how do you use this situation? You know, do you choose to give up, or do you just push through? And I think that just comes down to you personally. Like I needed to just continue to do something in order just to handle it. So that happened, and then after that I went into my second to last season then, and did the UK, the British, and the Worlds. And then after the Worlds, the Universe again, which then I got kicked out of Tone Figure and into Train. So that was kind of like the end of my Tone Figure days.
I remember this.
Little bit of controversy around it, but there's always going to be a little bit of controversy in bodybuilding. There always
seems to be some big kick-off post, doesn't there? So and so shouldn't have been in this class, and so was too big.
There's always something. So usually, like, I don't really pass comment. I just try and be, you know, just kind of stay out of it. But that was the one time I had to just, you know, had to say something, because I got why they moved me. You know, I didn't fit the criteria without knowing it in my own head. I'd passed the criteria. It was more for me.
We've obviously got some of your amazing products here, and the branding is just something else. I mean, your personality comes out so beautifully in them.
Yeah, so we got like the whole vintage pin-up girl theme going on, because that's something I've been into for years. I also do singing, which some of the music that I have produced is called electro swing.
Okay.
So it's like a combination of electro with old 1940s music.
Amazing.
So it's something I've been interested in for years, but I also found out only like about 3 years ago, you know, like the really famous image of Rosie the Riveter.
Yes.
From like the war.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, I always loved that image and kind of, you know, based my look on that.
Okay, yeah.
And I only found out like about 3 years ago she was called Rosie as well.
Amazing.
Okay, sorry about that. We just had a little bit of a loss of connection, but we're back. It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, also, I know that I've seen some of your posts on Instagram about another challenging time you had. And it was like this just sounds so crazy, because everybody around here and everyone in the UK and in the industry sort of sees you as this really strong person. And I think actually to the point of some people would even, before meeting you, be intimidated, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, I get that a lot. I do get that a lot.
Yeah, which is so crazy once people have met you. You know, you're very warm and open, and, you know, it's just the resting bitch face.
It is. But now I've got new teeth and I smile all the time. So it's like, give me a break, guys.
Yes. But, so then you'd put a post that you'd actually been going through some, like, hell with some domestic abuse, you know, a sort of controlling situation, which I don't think anyone would have guessed would have happened to you.
No, and I don't even I would never have guessed it. I'd never been in that situation before. So, yeah, I'll backtrack really briefly, because this is actually something that, you know, is obviously very personal. But when I was ready and I felt like I dealt with it, I kind of felt like, let me use this to help other people. And I've always said that with my platform that I would really like to help other people as much as I can. And this is just something that I feel
you there as well. About. I think, like, with you just saying that, it's within the fitness industry, there's some incredible people, but there's also a lot of bullshitters that are just out there to make money. They don't want to help people. And for me, I've just got to say, you are one of the people that I really, really feel so strongly that you're just out there to help people. And it's really lovely to see you being so successful with spreading out something genuine and just something that's really helping people. So I just had to say that. But
and as well, that means a lot for me coming from you, because you're someone that I hold in high regard and that I've always looked up to. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
For sure. So so you were saying.
So basically I was in abusive relationship, mentally and physically. Didn't really know it at the time. The people around me could see it. And this is what happens when you're in a relationship with a narcissist or a domestic abuser. You don't see it. Like, you're so caught up in it and the way they control you that you almost have blinkers on and you can't really see what's going on around you. And for me, I'd never been in that situation before. I'd never been in a controlling relationship. I'd never been in a violent or a domestic abusive relationship ever. So it was whole new territory for me, and I didn't see any of the red flags, which now I know there was so many red flags.
What kind of things looking back were like warning signs?
Moving too quick, like going from 0 to 100 within a matter of weeks. And I remember in the moment thinking, wow, this is moving really quickly. And I was a little bit like, this is a lot. But at the same time, they're so clever at telling you everything you want to hear. It's almost overwhelming. So you think, wow, like, I finally found someone that feels this way about me, and they clearly feel so strong as well that they just want this as well. And so yeah, he was very full on from the beginning. Another warning sign moved in with me very quickly, which I was almost like, oh, this is a bit quick. And just controlling certain situations in regarding to making me feel guilty about going places and doing things with other people, making every situation that was maybe a moment for me about him by some way, bringing it back round to him. Like, I remember being at the Worlds and in Brazil, and he wasn't there. And he was just like, I wasn't responding straight away to his messages. No, he was literally going mental. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm getting on a world stage and you are kicking off because I'm not replying. Like, give me, like, really? So there was so many red flags, and majority of them just come down to control and manipulation. But me as well, as a person, I look for the best in someone the whole time. So I was just kind of just like, not sweeping it under the carpet. I was acknowledging it, but thinking, because what they do is they throw all this crap at you, and then they shower you with emotion. So it's almost like it's a constant tug of war, because they make you feel really bad and guilty and shit, and then they make you feel like the best thing on earth.
Yeah. It's just because they love you so much and because you're so special, and that's why they...
Well, that's what they tell you, but that's not what they really... That's not their true feelings and intention. They just want to just control and manipulate someone. And usually it is deep-rooted to some sort of childhood or background or something on their side. But it's just... So they were like the first things, and he was just always very disrespectful to me. But again, it was the same thing. He would be really nasty and say terrible things, but then he would turn it around and be like, I'm really sorry, I was just mad, and like, I love you, and da-da-da, and just tell me everything I wanted to hear. So then I'd be like, oh, okay, you were mad, it's fine. And like, even stuff where I would have plans for the day and he would make me feel guilty and just say, well, what am I going to do while you're out with your friends? Well, I don't know, like, make plans, you know? Don't know.
Here's some crayons and a colouring book.
Yeah, I know, like, amuse yourself. But it was just controlling, toxic, and I was almost having to water down myself, even stuff like my social media, the stuff that I posted. I had to be mindful in case it upset him. And you've seen my social media. It's not by any means over the top.
Yeah, it's not provocative.
Sexual, you know, like, it's just not like that. It's all very much business related.
When the boot is on show, it's always very classy. It's a classy booty.
It's not like, yeah, exactly. It's always done in a certain way.
Yeah. Well, the thing
and it was even things like just telling you who I couldn't train with.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's not possible when you're in this industry. It's not possible to have like a jealous partner, because you're in the gym environment. Like, your job, you're helping men and women pose. So, oh God, it must have just been insane.
It was difficult. It was really difficult. And then obviously after a certain amount of time, then the domestic violence began. And at that stage, when that first happened, I was literally like, this is not right. Like, this is not right. You have to go. Like, this isn't acceptable. But at the same time, I was scared. And then again, he did the same thing. Like, this narcissist, they just really know how to manipulate the situation. So it was back and forth for a while.
By this point, were you scared of him, or were you even like scared of losing him? How kind of deep was it?
No, by the time the domestic violence started, I wanted out, but I couldn't get rid of him. Like, they almost make it impossible to get rid of them. They leave some sort of connection, or and so they can always kind of come back.
Yeah.
And he made me feel guilty because I kicked him out, and he said he had nowhere to live and all of this. So then it was like, oh God, now you've got nowhere to live and I feel guilty. Well, you better move back in then, you know? So then it was like, then that just was just ongoing, and just super controlling, and I just couldn't get rid of him. And the domestic violence continued, and it was just got to a stage where I was just scared of him, like super scared. And I remember like the first time that he attacked me, and it was almost like the next day, it was like it never happened, you know? And it was like, get up, get yourself together. We've got to go to the gym. You don't go out looking like that, so put some makeup on. And I was literally like, fuck, you're a psycho. You're crazy. And it was almost like I had to go around and pretend it hadn't happened. And it was clearly then, the more I got to know, I realised that he was a serial domestic abuser and had a huge background in it. Like, yeah, it was intense, and I just, it was overwhelming. And the final time it happened, I had no choice but to report it and go to the police, you know. So yeah, that was the kind of end of that, and it was very, very draining. Yeah, it probably took, it took me a lot to get over that, which also was happening in the thick of a prep.
But I think ever since then, you just seem to have gone from strength to strength with everything you're doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just, and I think, again, it was just a case of, in the aftermath, it was like focus on something. What can I do? What can I throw myself into? Work.
Yeah, and also just doing everything for yourself. You know, just being like, okay, now it's about me. And
now it's about me. Like, So that was, and I just feel like so many women and also men are in these kinds of relationships, and you feel stuck in them. Like, I remember putting that post up, and I was so nervous about sharing my story, because I just didn't want, you're scared of what people are going to think. Like, how are people going to perceive this? And also, are people just going to think that I'm just doing it for attention? But at the same time, I just thought, do you know what? I just need to take this risk and do it. And if it helps other people out, then this suffering that I've been through and I've had to experience, then hopefully it can help someone else know that they're not alone, and they can get out of it. You can get out of it. You can get help. There is way to get away from a narcissist and a domestic abuser, because sometimes you feel trapped.
And I think it would have had a lot. I think it would have had a lot of impact when you did that post, because, like I said, everybody will look at you, you know, like, oh, Emma's got her shit together. She's confident. She's talented. She's beautiful. You know, you just wouldn't have put you in that position. So for other people to have seen that, I think it would have given them some peace of mind that it's not their fault, and to somehow relate to you. And I think it would have had a lot of positive impact for sure. Yeah,
it was very, very powerful. And, you know, like, I got some really deep messages from women that had been in that situation, had suffered worse than me, women that were still in that situation and they couldn't get out. And it was just like, oh my God, like, it's just so much. It's just going on far more than you realise, you know. And it's just awful. Like, it's really difficult. I'd like to do more if I could to help in some way. And I've always said, like to maybe, even if it's just a case, that's why I had to just post something and use my platform. And even further down the line, if I don't know, like some sort of charity or get involved, because it is something that, you know, has massively affected my life, you know. So, and it's, I feel like if I have the strength to stand up and speak about it or share my story and give someone some kind of hope or strength, then it's almost like a really great coping mechanism for me.
Yeah, yeah. And it just keeps reminding you as well. Every time you speak about it, it reminds you you've come out of it. It almost, yeah. I mean, I'm sure.
That's what I was trying to say, like, in the end of my post, I think I just said, like, at the moment you might feel like there's no way out and nothing's ever going to change or get better, but I promise you, you will come out the other side and you will come out a stronger, more beautiful person.
Yeah.
And I do believe that, but it's very, very difficult when you're trapped in that situation.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Thank you for talking to us about that, Em, because I know it must be still quite raw sometimes. But to go on to a lighter note, can we look at your jumper?
Oh.
Is this...
it just says, Emma Hyndman, the Posing Pro.
Are you going to be bringing out any other clothing, or is this just for yourself?
I would like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely in the pipeline. Yeah. Definitely. I would like that. Maybe some cups that say, like, I don't know, like sassy something or the Posing Pro. I don't know. There's something in there though. I just need more hours in the day.
I know, this is it. You need like you need to clone yourself, don't you? What have you
Pretty
been
much, yeah.
Because basically, for anyone that doesn't know, go over to Emma's. What's your Instagram page?
So it's Emma Hyndman _ the Posing Pro.
Yeah, so...
And it's on my Facebook as well.
Okay, so if anyone wants to head over to Emma's Instagram and Facebook, because she has basically been a little bit of a pioneer, I would say, in the UK for posing.
I can just interrupt there because I do remember you saying something that like really stuck with me, and I was like, wow, that's what Rosie thinks. You said to me a while ago, you were like, before you came along, Emma, no one really cared about posing.
No one did. No one even did. No one did posing practice. Like, I swear to God, because I was like thinking about it the other day, like when I first started bodybuilding, like I was always quite good at posing. It came naturally to me. So I never really practiced or anything. And I did like I had a few posing clients and stuff. Yeah. And really because basically, for anyone that doesn't know, Emma is probably is the most popular posing coach in the UK. She's the go-to girl for posing. And it's basically because of the service she offers is elite. It is elite. She offers more than other people. It's her passion. It's everything. It's not just like a little sideline to make a little bit of extra cash. It's a career. It's a passion. So she studies it. It's an art form. You also use like the CBT, NLP mind techniques as well, don't you? Like building dendrites and all this kind of thing. Yeah. So it's much deeper level than what other people would first think.
I almost used, because it just like you were saying, like posing came naturally to you, and that's where I think the performance and the dance background comes into it. And for me, because I studied ballet and contemporary to a professional level, I really understand how to break things down in the body, in order to move in a certain way, you know, and how to teach that as well. I taught for like 10 years also.
Because not everybody can teach very well. Not everybody can teach. They might be able to pose well themselves, and I've seen this many times. They can pose well themselves, but they don't know how to relay that to the client. They don't know how to make the client understand what it should feel like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I was like thinking when I started out in bodybuilding, like I probably had all the sort of skills that you had to do this posing, you know, like I could have done this posing coaching to this like level that you're doing it at. But instead, I went out and snorted cocaine every weekend and just didn't fucking, do you know? So it's about like, what are you going to do with your skills? Are you going to put it into a business plan? Are you going to work? Do you know what I mean? You like for the last however many years, you've dedicated all of your power and mind power to to creating something really special. And it really bugs me sometimes when I hear people say, not that a lot of people say this, but every now and again you hear someone sort of knocking the price that you charge.
Yeah, I'm used to that. Like, and do you know what? I get it. But then I just think, do you know what? Step into the studio with me, and you will understand why I charge that price.
Yeah, and you learn. And for me, I just think the reason why it's to me, I don't even think it's expensive. I don't, because I always like to pay for quality. That's the way. Like when I go for sports massage and everything, I travel an hour and a quarter, and I pay for the best people. So
and do you know what though? That's what people just don't get in all aspects. If you want to be the best, you have to go to the best.
Yeah.
You know, like you travel to go to your massage because you want to go to the best, and you'll pay the price because you want to go to the best. But the people that don't have the same mindset as us, they'll just go to Mary the masseuse down the road.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think it just depends on what your actual goal is, you know? And not everyone really wants it.
Yeah. And I just, I would really urge people to go over and follow you on Instagram and Facebook, because you give out so much content as well. You know, it's not like all you're doing is the one-to-one stuff.
Me in the studio, you know, like
yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to give people, and that's why, like, another reason why I hold free workshops.
Yeah, and you do a lot of live stuff, don't you?
And I do live stuff. Yeah. I give a lot of content and quality away for free, because I do understand I am expensive, but at the same time, I know what my skill is worth.
Yeah, and you know, what some people don't understand is you're not just paying for the hour. You're paying for...
But it goes away with so much more than that.
Yeah, but you're paying for all the years that you studied as a professional dancer, all of the years that you've competed, all of the money that you've put into different courses and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So I think sometimes people forget that, you know?
Yeah. I am, because obviously I sometimes get feedback that, you know, someone said this and someone said they can't believe you're charging that price. And I just, like, one day I just thought, you know what? I need to put you all straight. Because, I charge that. But firstly, I spent tens of thousands of pounds on professional dance training. And that gives me the skill that I've got now to an in-depth level that not many people would be able to understand or deliver. Yeah. Also, I've got, like you said, I've invested in shows, in other posing coaches. Yeah. I've spent time and money, really. I watch videos for hours. I watch the pros, and I'm breaking down what they're doing and how they're turning it on. Yeah. And I spent hours in the studio trying to perfect my skill in order to be able to teach other people. And I didn't just start out charging £75 an hour. I was charging like 25 quid for an hour. Yeah. Because I didn't have the skill then. Yeah. But over the time that I've put in and the techniques that I've developed in the studio, I know they're worth that.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. And I think it's... you're just doing an amazing job. So, yeah, we're lucky to have you over here for sure, because I think the standard of people's posing has gone up since you started teaching posing. The standard of overall posing in the UK has gone up.
Yeah, I would have to agree there. You know.
So, Emma, do
you know what I'm really passionate about? And this will probably sound like a little bit cheesy to people, but I really want to leave a legacy. Yeah. Well, and I just truly believe that this will be my legacy.
What I was going to ask you is, like, what actually drives you? And is this it? You want to leave something, you know, like a bit of a
legacy. And it's like, like I just was thinking today, like I'm as passionate about posing as I am about dance. And that's a big statement, because dance was my life.
Yeah.
And now this is, and I really feel like I have found a craft and a skill that I can, that's got longevity in it, and I can continue to deliver for a very long time. And I just feel like I just have a lot to give with it, you know. And if I can like leave like, who doesn't want to leave a legacy?
Yes.
You know, like I just want to play a part, and I love bodybuilding so much, and I'm so passionate about that as an art form. I just love to have a small part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you already have in the UK for sure. So we've got to get you over stateside. We've got to get everyone knowing how amazing you are, because you do Skype posing too, don't you?
Yeah. I've actually got quite a few international clients, like in American, Austria, Australia. So yeah, there is international clientele there, which is pretty cool. And so when they come through for an inquiry, I'm always a bit like, really?
Me?
Like, you want me to coach you? Like, that's crazy. But no, and I think I've just got really big aspirations. My end goal is to work with the pros, you know, like just be on that level, and to be able to work with them, because they're the like working with yourself and some other bodybuilders. That's what I love, because those tiny details, they make all of the difference. And it's literally like art form comes to life, like a sculpture coming to life. Yeah. And I thrive on that. Like, I love it. So that for me would just be a real amazing end goal.
Yeah.
That would be the level
to get to. For sure, that's going to happen, for sure. But you, I think as well for you, it'd be nice for you to be around the pros, just because of the mindset as well. Like, to be around people with similar sort of drive to you, it's just going to elevate you even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, one last question before we leave. If you were going to give anyone any sort of advice, in the industry, maybe they're just starting out, or maybe they're having some like doubts, or you know, they don't think they're good enough, is there anything that, like a sort of golden nugget that you could give to people, that maybe not even in bodybuilding, just in life in general? Have you got like a mantra or something?
Yeah. I think self-belief is crucial. If you're going to do something, then you have to believe in yourself. Even if, you know, maybe you're not quite at the stage you need to be at, you still need to visualize yourself getting to that stage.
Yeah.
And just you know, be positive. Also, try and make those negative situations a positive one. And self-awareness, be aware of yourself and the energy that you're giving out, and just you know, be positive.
Yeah, I think that's
it's a huge one.
It's a really, really good one, to be self-aware of the energy that you're giving out, because you get some people that tend to have a lot of bad luck, they're falling out with people, and sometimes it's good to look at what energy you're giving out, and maybe that's why you're getting back. So yeah, always kind of looking to improve yourself in every way possible.
Yes. Absolutely. And in regards to competing, if you're new to your journey, just do the best you can do, you know, tick all the boxes, and just make sure that first time you step on stage, knowing you did everything you could do, and you couldn't have brought a better package. And then from there, you'll just go from strength to strength. Yeah.
And I think it's good to remember to take things seriously when they need to be taken seriously, but then not to take yourself too seriously. Sometimes, you know, it's okay to kind of make mistakes and laugh it off, and, you know, not to get too heavy with everything.
Yeah. I guess, definitely in the beginning as you're just finding yourself and competing and stuff as well. So definitely.
Awesome. I'm going to let you get off because it's a little bit late over here now, but I'm sure you'll probably be staying up and working for another couple of hours or something.
Probably, yeah.
So thank you so much for talking to us, and best of luck as soon as you do sort of head towards your next prep and you'll be doing your pro debut. I'll make sure to keep everyone updated as soon as you start your prep again. And best of luck with all of your work and just getting out there helping as many people as possible.
Thank you, Rosie.
All right, my lovely. Good night. Good night. I've come for a session.
Okay.
How much is it?
Don't worry about it.
What's going on here? I'm not having this.
What's that? Amino Spark?
That's exactly what it is. Amino Spark.
Turn around and flex that back. We'll grow old, but we'll stay toned, and the gym will be there till the end. I'll never be pear-shaped. These rocks won't lose